All right, and hello everyone. My name is Jungle Book One. I am a North American Challenger TFT player, and today I want to highlight a comp that I think is honestly quite underused right now, at least in my games. I don't know about in everybody else's games across different elos, and that is Vertical Arcanist. I have relied on this comp a lot, not only for my ladder climb. I have very good performances and consistent performances when I get a spot for this comp. Um, but also I used it in the tournament this past weekend, the Tactician's Trials, and it actually was one of the main comps that helped me to qualify for the cup coming up um, this Friday, I believe. If you're interested in checking out um, my tournament run and my stream, please take a look in the description. But otherwise, let's get right into it. So it is the 3-cost champion portal, and I open with the Zoe. When I get open Zoe, the main things I'm thinking about are, well, Fortune is definitely the first one, trying to hold things like Kobuko and Timo in the early and giving myself a chance to get early Fortune. Um, Otherwise, really just obviously try to think about play around maybe Arcanist or Storyweaver out of my opener. Um, so I end up picking up an Ari, and I put her in. Early game, just gonna try to kind of speed by and get to the first augment choice. And I end up grabbing a Lux as well. And I made a slight miscalculation here. I thought that I could make 10 without selling Lux, but I was 1 gold off. So I end up just holding. And I pick up an RE2 as well. So I think I'm just going to be playing around them. And I also put the Kobuko on my board. Um, you know, I'm definitely going to be, like I said, I'm definitely going to be holding 2 out of 3 Fortune. And eventually playing Fortune if I get the chance. And I end up selling everything to make 10. Because of the fact that I'm 2 out of 3 Fortune, I kind of figure that I can kind of just make economy. Maybe I'll just sack the first stage in hopes of getting Timo and then having a bit of a loss streak to gain Fortune value. I got offered ones, twos, threes here, which to me sounds like the premier option. I think my items are already quite good. I have a bow and a tier, which are both very, very good for this comp. Probably the two best components. Besides Rod as well. I think both tier and Rod are probably the most important, at least offensive items in this comp. Um, Ones, twos, three is insane here because of the fact that I can hit either Timo or Tristana to hit Fortune. Also, just kind of the fact that I sold most of my units to make Econ on the third neutral stage. So kind of accelerating my Econ even more, giving me access to plenty of gold. Um, Sounded like a very appealing option to me. I was also considering over encumbered, but because of the fact that I was 2 out of 3 Fortune, I think ones, twos, threes was slightly better. Um, and I end up hitting a Lux 2 and a Tristana, so I put the Tristana right in, and I roll a 4. And my first instinct is to scout around, and I can see already that there are some pretty weak boards. Um, I don't really think there's too much I can do about it at the moment, so I decided just to play my board. I ended up trying to hit my board a little bit as much as I could, but um, this was about the best I could do. But otherwise, pretty standard, just playing Fortune from the opener. Um, and we're basically just going to use that to gain resources that people that don't have Fortune can't have access to, pretty much. And you'll see I'm just going to make 20 here, holding the Lux 2 and the RE2 on my bench, so I'm already thinking about playing into this vertical Arcanist line. We end up fighting another pretty weak opponent, but not as weak as me, luckily. So we do end up securing 2 losses here. Here I have the choice of what to hold, and I decide to hold the Ari pair. And I can see that there are 2 other people playing Fortune, Milala and Marcel P. I kind of figured that I don't really want to sell. I don't really want to sell either of them because I'm pretty sure with Tristana I win anyway. These people um had things like um Timos or um yeah, basically Timo on their board. And Tristana, usually if you have Tristana, it actually beats Timo. So if you have so both, let me put that in a more specific manner. If you have Kobuko and Zoe and the third unit is Timo, you're usually weaker than someone whose third unit is Tristana, basically. So I kind of say that, okay, if I fight them, I fight them. Um, and I'll just cash out a baby cash out if I need to. And then I get to hold these two cost or 2-star Arcanists, which are Ari and Lux, on my bench. I'm still making 30 here. So it's not even that bad. And you can see that I am one turn away from cashing out. At this point, I kind of I'm thinking to myself that if I do end up fighting either Milala or Marcel P, I'm probably just gonna cash it out because I don't really want to risk. I don't really want to risk just facing one of them like either now or later on if I choose to raise or to push my luck. I don't really want to risk ruining my streak and sacking all the HP for a mediocre cash out. Especially when I do have very formidable units like waiting on my bench. Like I have a Lux 2 that I could be playing. So for this last round, I'm gonna try my best to sack. But again, I kind of realize these two are only fielding 3 units each. So if I fight them, I fight them. You know, and that ends up that ends up being what it comes down to. Unfortunately, not the end of the world. I'm just gonna cash out a 5 and move on with my life. I could push my luck. You could argue that I could do that, but again, I just find it a bit risky and unnecessary with my spot. I find it risky due to the fact that there's 2 other people that may be playing Fortune well into stage 3. It ends up being the Shen encounter, and I get a lucky Arcanist selection, so I just go for that, and I pick up 1 Zoe. Not really too concerned with the second RE2, so I end up just selling her to make 50. And you'll see I'm already pretty guaranteed that I'm angling towards this comp. And it may be weird to be defaulting this comp already, but it definitely is one of my favorite comps and one of my personally most successful comps to play. We end up fighting the other Fortune player, which is completely fine. So normally, if I was fighting someone who is strong here, I'd slam Shiv to try to make sure that I win this round so I could 2-streak. But considering the strength of the board I was fighting, I found that unnecessary. So maybe there's a chance that there's a slightly better item slam selection that I can make after the Krug. So that's why I hold out on slamming here. I'll just pre-level here. It only costs me 1 gold. I just go from 50 gold to 40 gold. So don't mind doing that for the more favorable shop odds here. And I end up picking up a Kobuko, a Kog'Maw, a Chain. Just make 50 here, perfect. And I found that Alawi, a lot of times on this comp, I will like to roll on 3-2 to try to just find my board. You can see like this is pretty much all you need for the mid game. And Nico, Zoe, Ari, Lux, Alawi, and Amumu are all findable at level 6. So sometimes if you're getting really low and you kind of need to stabilize, it's completely fine to roll pretty deep on level 6 to try to find these upgrades. But in this case, I'm pretty well upgraded, so I don't really see the need to roll. I think this board alone with Lux 2 for Arcanist is quite strong already. And having the awarding combo of Amumu plus Alawi. I tell myself that I'll slam Steadfast if I feel like I need to win, but against this opponent, I really don't need to. Again, it's a very minor optimization, but in the case that I want to take an item augment on 3-2, it definitely is optimal because then there might be something that's better than Steadfast, right? It might be a different combination of slams that work out better with the items I'm given if I decide to take an item augment. I don't like Silver Veil a lot on this comp. I'm not a huge fan of Young, Wild, and Free. I feel like the value could be limited because of the fact that I'm already looking around second pick. Of course, that could change by the time I get to the carousel, but as of now, I'm not a huge fan of Young Wilder Pre. Lunch money was something I was seriously considering taking. Taking lunch money and then rolling a little bit for Amu to Nico to Zoe to was something I really was thinking of because this board on stage 3, as you'll see later on, is very, very strong. But I end up just going for the rolling for days, which is more of a conservative option. I mean, it's solid enough, and these rolls right now will help me because you'll see I'm actually able, off my rate economy start, both by cashing out a small fortune cash out, but also from ones, twos, threes. Um, Allow me to just level here, and then I'm gonna end up using a lot of the rolls after picking up this Alawi pair, especially. I'm gonna end up using a handful of rolls because I'm a Moo pair, Alawi pair, Zoe pair, and Nico pair. So I'm gonna be looking, I think, ideally for 2 of the upgrades, and I think this is where I stop. Okay, I kept rolling a little bit for 1 more, which is pretty reasonable. And I ended up just playing two copies of Malawi, and this board for stage 3 for 3-2 is pretty insane. And I'm still making 20 gold at level 7, so it's not like I completely, hindered my economy. But this is what I meant earlier when I was talking about potentially rolling on 6 on 3-2. You can do this on level 6, even if you don't have an insane econ start like I did this game. Um, this comp really spikes if you're able to hit any of like a couple of these upgrades. It doesn't always have to be as many as I have, but rolling for days definitely helped me with that, right? And just a little positioning thing, you'll see I'm always trying to put my Lux opposite side of the enemy carry, and that's because that's where she'll hit the most targets, and eventually she'll start stunning the enemy carry as well, which I have personally found to be the best way to position her. Um, there are other ideas like positioning her in the middle of the board, um, so that she can potentially hit the enemy carries with direct damage sooner. But I found in my experience that it's actually nice for her to be getting damage on as many units as possible. In my experience, it's kind of like almost Lux steals the AoE and then Zoe later on deals a single target. Um, but you'll see later on that they're both gonna be doing insane amounts of damage. And I ended up having 5 Amumus at this point. I think it was a double Amumu shop, which was really lucky. So very often you'll be able to 3-star these wardens as well, and that's kind of a win con. Um, Sometimes you won't be able to, and it's fine. Even at 2-star Alawi, 2-star Mumu, with the right items, can still tank a lot of like imports in my experience. And you'll see now I'm just econing up to 50. I am win streaking at this point, which is really nice. And I think I'm actually strong enough to play for this dummy and try to proc it to get the 1 extra gold if I win. So I end up just backlining it. I see most of the enemy carries are on the left side, so boom, I switch over the list to the right. That's the idea with the positioning. And almost always, I like keeping a Mumu around the middle so that he can AoE heal the units next to him. So that's usually what I do with the front line. Sometimes I'll adjust it based on the matchup. And yeah, we just secure a 7 win streak here. Honestly, super nice for the economy, just for the HP as well. And you'll see I'm just committing to hard rerolling on level 7. Let me just slow this down real quick just to point out a few things while I'm rolling. So obviously a Mumu, and again, you're gonna be wanting to play towards that 6 Arcanist all the time. So either Syndra or if you're very lucky, Lysandra is normally the 6 Arcanist. So I just play her over the second Mumu. This is the ideal level 7 board if you don't have an Arcanist +1. If you do have an Arcanist +1, what you can do is you can drop a Mumu, or not drop a Mumu, sorry. You could put the Arcanist bat on a Mumu. A unit that benefits heavily from AP, he'll end up healing a lot more. He has a very solid ratio on his ability. And then you could play really, the last spot is pretty flexible. You could play something like a Nautilus too. You could play something like a Heavenly unit like Soraka, or even just like a Malphite is something that I often do when I have a Arcanist +1. But in my experience, you really want to reroll for Zoe and Lux 3 at least. Like that's the bare minimum and the formula I've been using to perform very well with this comp. So you'll see I'm just gonna commit to reroll on level 7. And usually I mean I make an effort to scout for it. In most of the games that I've played, Zoe and Lux are units that are very rarely held. There are some comps that hold Zoe. Just off the top of my head, I could think of like Seven Story Weaver might play like a Zoe 2 on their board, or something like a Zyra reroll, Ghostly reroll might play a Zoe 2 or even a Zoe 3. So you do have to be a little careful for that. But otherwise, just my plan is just gonna be to hard reroll on level 7. End up picking up I'm gonna slow down this roll again. End up picking up 7 Luxes, and I have a baby Nico on a baby champion duplicator on my bench. Um, for that reason, I'm actually gonna send a lot of my gold here. Very often you won't be hitting as many copies this early um as I did this game. So very often you'll be slow rolling you know well into stage 4 maybe, and then send it on maybe like 5-1 for example, or 4-5 depending. But since I'm so close to a lot of these, I'm 6 Alawi, 6 Amumu, 7 Lux, and 5 Zoes, and I have the champion duplicator on my bench, and I'm streaking. I kind of realized that I should be rolling pretty deep here to try to 3-star something. I pick up a Zoe here. I pick up another Zoe. And you'll see I don't really prioritize the Nico at all. I find Zoe 3. I just decide to put a Shoujo on her. You can make an argument that I should move the items from Lux to Zoe, but in my opinion, I'm very healthy still. I'm gonna play for max cap and try to 3-star both of them. And Lux 3 is very attainable this game, especially with the champion duplicator. Being 2 off Lux and 2 off of Mumu. So, but hitting the Zoe 3 this turn is very nice. Obviously, it only has 1 item as of now, but as I get more and more items, you'll see it does quite insane work for me. This unit is so much fun to watch sometimes. Like the bounces could be so funny. Um, but yeah. So nice that I hit the Zoe 3 there. I am pretty close to hitting the other key upgrades this game. Let me just speed it back up. To me, Warden +1 is not a priority. It does give it a Mumu, which maybe think about it for a second, but I ultimately decided against it. Final Ascension normally fine, Accomplice normally fine, but to me, Baboom is a premier augment in this comp. It just gets your Arcanist to a threshold where they're absolutely one-shotting backlines. Like for example, like Lux's first cast into second cast very often will just one-shot like a 2-star Kaiser or 2-star Ash, right? And like I think that burst is very valuable in my mind. So I really like how Baboom feels in this comp, especially given the fact that I have a Shojin on both my carries already. So that is what I end up going for. And I'm gonna roll a bit more here. I'm not sure if it's the right choice to roll here, I'll be honest. Maybe I should just sack a few rounds, econ back up, and then just hit everything. But to me, I just want to keep my streak. So I end up just rolling here. I hit the Lux. And I ended up rolling to 0, hoping to see if I'd hit Lux or Malawi or Mumu. But I've won off both. I could baby champion. I could use the lesser champion duplicator, but I decided against it ultimately, just for the reason, like I said earlier, the fact that I'm so healthy and I want to greed so I can hit everything in this case. Because even the Warden upgrades, if you're able to get them, are extremely, extremely powerful. Like I said, it's not going to be every game that you're able to hit them, but I have still done well. I've even won games with just a 2-star frontline, so that goes to show kind of how strong this Lux plus Zoe combination is. So we get the Yasuo encounter, so I move everything back. And I end up picking up the Lux 3, and I think I still end up greeting the lesser champion duplicator. Seems super greedy, I know, but I lost my win streak anyway, and like I said, I'm already very competitive in health anyway, and I feel quite strong with Lux 3 and Zoe 3. So I'm not too concerned about blowing, like I really want to make sure I hit both the Moo 3, both of Lavi 3. Again, just kind of it's just because I have the HP too, it's kind of like a luxury. So here I'm really thinking about a Zoe item because Zoe in my opinion, is the more consistent carry of the two. They're both strong, um, but I think that Zoe is kind of more necessary these days. She's the one who can really burst through these mega tanks, like whether it's wardens, whether it's things like an Orn 2 or a duelist Lee Sin can feel like a mega tank sometimes. Zoe is the one who could really do serious damage to that. Lux is kind of more of a support unit, but she can also kill backlines very easily. So I end up going for the Jewel Gauntlet here, which you know, with considering I have Baboom and Arcanist AP, be able to crit on that damage is ridiculous. So I think Jewel Gauntlet is very, very strong here. Um, things like a Nashers, things like a Gunblade, you know, also anti-heal is a fine option. So those are the types of things I'm thinking about. I normally like to put anti-heal on Lux if I can, but if I can't, then it's still okay on Zoe. Um, Regardless, these items still give stats. For example, like Red Buff gives bonus damage and attack speed, and Morello Namicon gives attack speed, AP, and HP. So it's better to have stats on your carries than to not have stats, you know, even if it's not the perfect item. Um, so at this point, I'm one off of a Mumu, and I actually don't end up picking. I don't end up picking up the best items here. I hit the Amumu 3 in that shop, so I just immediately use the lesser champ dupe to get my Alawi 3 as well. Um, and now we're looking really good. Um, sword, and then I get it's not really easy to kill the second sword, so I'm kind of realizing, all right, I'm gonna have to make a BT on frontline. It is what it is. You know, HP is HP. It's fine. Um, and then for the sword, to me, the only real takeable options are either Infinity Edge or Bloodthirster. Those are the only two things that I see. Because if I go for something like let's say a stone plate, right, then I'll be left with the death blade, which that's why you always have to consider what's called your item economy, right? Like if I slam an item, what items will I have left to work with? So even though stone plate might look good here, I still want to be able to kill all of these items. So I end up just going for the Infinity Edge on Lux, and you'll see that, just having the ability to crit on the spells is very, very valuable for Arcanists because of the fact that um they are already given so much ability power. So through the trait itself. So if you're able to amplify that through crits, through Baboom, for example, that's extremely efficient, right? You're gonna be getting basically you're getting um, overwhelming returns for just building one item. Um, so I know it seems weird. It seems like it's an AD item, but still, this Lux being able to crit means that she will be able to have a higher chance of just like one or two shotting the backlines. Um, you'll see we're able to beat a pretty strong duelist board, honestly. And I was just going for the BT on Alawi, kind of thinking that I might make Amumu my true premium tank. And at this point, I'm 76 HP, healthiest in the lobby, and I'm thinking that I might be able to get a full 3 items onto Amumu. So that's why I split up the items here. But I could definitely see, if someone told me that I should have gone Bloodthirster on Amumu, I could definitely see it as well, just to make sure that I'm stacking items uh on the same unit. So we end up fighting a pretty strong Kai'Sa 2 board, which is Kai'Sa 2, Galio 2, level 9, Silas 2, and Udyr. And you'll see my Lux is able to just clip the Kai'Sa and two-shot it, right? And that again, that's thanks to the Infinity Edge, so really not that bad. And Zoe with the bounces at the end, you'll see my carries are doing 11k and 10k respectively, which is absolutely insane. I mean, that's a 2 item Zoe as well. And my front line is holding up for now. I didn't really love it. If I got the choice to, I would be prioritizing tank items on this after the neutrals, but after getting 2 swords, I didn't really have the choice. Um, End up fighting a quite strong Umbral board. I don't remember if I won this. It looks like I lost. I barely lost, unfortunately. Which is okay. I have a huge HP lead. I'm taking a look at the 2 adaptive helms. That's what I want the most for frontline. Fortunately, both are taken, but I just decided that hey, I have no anti-heal, so I just go for the Morello Nomicon. It's completely fine. Like I said earlier, normally I would prefer to have Morello Nomicon on Lux because she just hits more targets more consistently, but it's still okay enough on Zoe that I just put it on Zoe. I end up just playing a Thresh here. I mean, Faded is pretty fake in my experience in this comp, but I just play him to get a unit in and get some value on my board. I don't really want to be rolling a lot because there's not much to roll for um, on level 8. Ideally, the way to cap out this board, there are a few options, but very often I'm playing things like heavenlies, like just to add on extra stats to my carries. So things like Wukong give attack speed to the whole team, which is extremely valuable. Attack speed for these Arcanists is, I think it's honestly one of their best stats aside from mana generation and ability power. Um, so attack speed's pretty good. So you can play like a Wukong, you can play something like Malphite to buff up your front line, right? Like just giving armor and MR to your whole team. It's pretty easy to add things on. Like since you play Nico, you could just play, Heavenly. The other option is to play things like um you could play if you find Lissandra, you can play Lissandra over one of the faded plus Ash over the Thresh, right? If you do that, you'll have 6 Arcanists still, but then you'll have 4 Porcelain. And 4 Porcelain was nerfed recently, which kind of made it see less play, but still, even in this case, giving that attack speed and damage reduction to Lux and Amumu respectively is extremely, extremely powerful. Um, so I definitely think, if you get the chance to play for Porcelain, definitely do it, especially if you're primary, if you have Lux 3 and Amumu 3. It'll give you so much value. So that's why I end up holding the Ash here. I'm just gonna be leveling to 9 next turn, and that's what I'm thinking of. I'm trying to play around the Ash plus Lissandra cap, which is 4 Porcelain. Here I was really hoping for a tank item, but again, I didn't really hit one. Sterix is an item that at least gives some HP, so that's just what I go for. I'm not really getting the best luck in terms of the tank items, but it is what it is. Sterix is good enough. It'll give me like I forget what it is, but I think it gives you like 25% max HP or something when you drop below a certain threshold, something like that. And here I got on the wrong side of the enemy carry. Again, that's what I'm looking for when I'm scouting. It's like I'm trying to get my Lux opposite to the enemy carry. So ideally, if I could pick, I would have Lux here so that he could be sniping Zyra. Or that she could be sniping Zyra. But obviously, you're not gonna get that every single time. And I do end up losing this one, unfortunately. But you'll see off the HP layer I was able to build, I'm definitely still okay. I'm just gonna be rolling for, like I said, Lissandra, Wukong is something I'm thinking about. Find another Malphite, which you'll notice I'm just playing. And here I see that I have a Soraka shop with a Rakan, so I just decided to go for that. Not something I play super often, but again, it's pretty flexible these last 2 slots. It's there's nothing that's super insane to me. You could play something like Set plus Nautilus, which I've played a couple times, I believe. But those units are pretty hard to find at this point, especially if there's other Ash players in the lobby. And I didn't have too much gold to work with, so again, I'm just trying to throw together whatever I can at this point, like to add value to my board. And in this case, Soraka for Heavenly, which gives AP and AP to my whole team, as well as Rakan, just for altruists. That's the best I can find at this point. No Lissandra, so this is just what I go for. Tried to get opposite side. I was wrong side again, unfortunately. Like I said, if I was again, the idea is that if I'm Lux, if I get to pick, I'd have Lux on this side so he gets snipe Aurelia. But still, you'll see I fight a quite strong duelist board. Fine vintage, Aurelia 2, Lee Sin 2. Definitely not no slouch of a board. And it just ends up not even being close, which is pretty crazy. So we take out the duelist player, and we secure ourselves a top 3. And again, just gonna be doing the same thing. Just gonna be rolling. I'm really just looking for Lissandra at this point. If I find Lissandra, I would definitely look to play 4 Porcelain immediately. here I get the Umbral player. I swap their Alune over. So again, I'm wrong side for Lux. Um, definitely should be doing better on my positioning. But again, that's what I'm looking for, right? Just being opposite side. That's the most important thing. Um, and we end up getting down to the last two. I see a Lysandra, but it has a duelist emblem, which I'm not super enthused about. So I end up just saying, okay, this board's okay. This gives me Soraka 2 as well, and then also just a solid tank item. And I decided to just stack the Alawi at this point to just make sure that I have 3 items on her. And yeah, this is how I cap out. Obviously, my board would be much stronger with better take items in these 2 slots, but hey, it is what it is. I can't complain. Um, and just a few things to point out. When you get to the end game, there are a lot of units that you want to itemize. So, um, having 3 items on a Mumu here would make a world of a difference. So definitely like be prioritize, like definitely be considering item augments. For example, I really like shock treatment as one. There's certain spots where what's the augment called? Blinding speed, which gives you a Ginsu red buff and bow, can be quite good. Same thing with the AP version, which gives you Jewel Gauntlet, Rabadons, and a Rod. Like these types of things very often can be quite good just to guarantee you have carry items and then focus purely on take items. And then same thing with like Impenetrable Bulwark, right? That gives you Declaw, Bramble, Belt, etc. Um and then also I also like certain combat augments a lot. Learning to spell is one that I would highly recommend trying. I think it just makes the comp so much stronger in my experience, and it really gets your carries to just these breakpoints where there's absolutely one shotting. Like Zoe is literally just one shotting tanks sometimes, and Lux is sometimes just one shotting backliners. Things like Baboom, of course, it's about what you'd expect. Uh, Augments that you would expect to work on standard AP comps. That's normally what I'm looking for. But just in this case, I had a lot of econ, which is fine, and you'll see it. You see it worked out just fine for me. Here I was trying to get my Lux onto the Kaisa as early as possible, so she ends up killing the Sivir, and then she's gonna go for the Kaisa. But unfortunately, I just don't quite have enough front line. And we barely lose to the Golden Egg cash out. It was very close. I think I definitely put up a good fight. But yeah, that's pretty much the comp summed up. I think I pretty much explained everything that I was planning to. I hope that you guys enjoyed kind of the in-depth commentary and just hearing about how a high elo player thinks. But yeah, like I said earlier, I will be participating in the Tacticians Cup 2 coming up this Friday. So if you're interested in checking that out, I will be streaming that. So I'll put that link in the description. Thank you guys very much for the support, and I will catch you all next time. Peace out.